Asam tato jay mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati ruttama shloke bhaktir bhakti naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya namo namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 15, verses 47 onwards. And today we're reading across the chapters because the pastime starts here. That's going to be followed up in the next chapter. So I'm not going to read all the Sanskrit. We'll read the Sanskrit in the next chapter, which has purport. Translation and purport by disciples of Srila Prabhupada. O King, the Supreme Lord Krishna thus wandered about the Vrindavan area, performing his pastimes. Once surrounded by his boyfriends, he went without Balaram to the Yamuna river. At that time, the cows and cowherd boys were feeling acute distress from the glaring summer sun. Afflicted by thirst, they drank the water of the Yamuna river, but it had been contaminated with poison. As soon as they touched the poisoned water, all the cows and boys lost their consciousness by the divine power of the Lord and fell lifeless at the water's edge. O hero of the Kurus, seeing them in such a condition, Lord Krishna, the master of all masters of mystic potency, felt compassion for these devotees who had no lord other than him. Thus he immediately brought them back to life by showering his nectarian glands upon them. Regaining their full consciousness, the cows and boys stood up out of the water and began to look at one another in great astonishment. O king, the cowed boys then considered that although they had drunk poison and in fact had died, simply by the merciful glance of Govinda they had regained their lives and stood up by their own strength. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Killing of Dhenukasura. Chapter 16, Krishna chastises the serpent Kalia. Shukadeva Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, seeing that the Yamuna river had been contaminated by the snake Kalia, by the black snake Kalia, desired to purify the river, and thus the Lord banished him from it. King Parikshit inquired, O learned sage, please explain how the Supreme Personality of Godhead chastised the serpent Kalia within the unfathomable waters of the Yamuna, and how it was that Kalia had been living there for so many ages. O Brahmana, the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead freely acts according to his own desires. Who could be satiated when hearing the nectar of the magnanimous pastimes he performed as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan? Shri Shukadeva Goswami, Shri Shukhovacha, Kalindyam Kaliya Asid, Hrida Kaschid Vishagnina, Sampra Shrapyamana Paya Yasmin, Patanti Upariga Kaga. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, within the river Kalindi was a lake inhabited by the serpent Kalia, whose fiery poison constantly heated and boiled its waters. Indeed, the vapors thus created were so poisonous that birds flying over the contaminated lake would fall down into it. In this regard, the Acharyas explained that the Kalia lake was situated apart from the main current of the river. Otherwise, the Yamuna's waters would have been poisonous, even in cities like Mathura and in other places farther away. Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikum Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsham Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading the translations again from chapter 15. Then the verse 47 is where we are starting the discussion today. So the pastime of the Dhenukasura is over, and then their lordships Krishna and Balaram, along with their coward boys and the cows and the calves, reached back to Vrindavan and were taken care by Mother Yashoda and Rohini very lovingly, and they went to sleep in the village of Vraja. That's where we ended yesterday's discussion, or the previous discussion. Yesterday was Ekadashi. So they happily went to sleep in the village of Vraja. So there it kind of comes to end the pastime of Dhenukasura. And then fast forward, because the season in which the Gopashtami occurs, that's where we started the chapter of 15. The Gopashtami occurs in the month of Kartik. We all know it comes in between the Damodar month, Gopashtami. Here we are speaking about the pastime of Kalia. This happens in the month of, I would say in summer, somewhere in August, like that. How can we say for sure? Because here in this verse it is said, Yayau Ramam Rite Rajan. Rite Ramam means without Lord Balaram. Krishna goes on this particular day when Shukadeva Goswami is starting to explain this pastime. He is explaining this one thing. He's saying without Balaram, Krishna went to Yamuna river. That means it was Balaramji's appearance day, Balaram Jayanti, which usually comes in the summer, a fortnight before Janmashtami, Krishna's appearance. So it happens in the summer. So that's why Krishna is Shukadeva Goswami has gone all the way from somewhere in October, November to July, August. He is like fast forwarded the pastimes. So here he is explaining that how once Krishna wandered around performing the pastimes, his pastimes in Vrindavan, and once, especially on this particular day, surrounded by his boyfriends, he went without Balaram to the Yamuna river. Why Balaram did not go? As we said, it was his appearance day, it was his birthday, so he was kept back at home for performing various rituals and giving offering in charity. So he did not join. So that did not stop the other boys from going to Yamuna. It's obvious, right? In a birthday celebration, it's not just the birthday boy remains, everybody else's friends also come to participate. But the cows and the calves also need to be taken care. So duty bound, Krishna and others have already left. Krishna, ideally speaking, he should be happy to spend the day with Balaramji. However, it seems Krishna is more than eager to go out without Balaram. We will see why he is happy to go without Balaram. And Mother Yashoda usually instructs Balaramji to take care of Krishna. So it is said before they leave home, she calls Balramji and she says, please take care of him. Especially when she sent Krishna for the first time outside for grazing, Mother Yashoda was explaining to Balramji how he needs to take care of Krishna. So she explained a few things to him, and then he said, okay, I got it, I'm going. So after he went a particular distance, she again called, Balram, come back. What is it? And Mother Yashoda was trying to explain to Balramji, please feed him every hour. Don't make sure he is not hungry. And he goes, and then again, Mother Yashoda calls him, Balramji, come back. I forgot to tell you one thing. Please make sure he's not climbing any trees. He will fall and break his hands. So in this way, back and forth, Balramji was like, yes, I'll take care. So this was the responsibility given to Balramji by Mother Yashoda to protect Krishna. So they would take the safest paths. They would try to avoid unnecessary dangers. He would make sure Krishna is not fighting with other boys. Krishna is like not doing anything mischievous or anything dangerous. So Krishna always felt very controlled by Balramji, that he does not let him do anything. So when he realized that today Balramji is not going to accompany them, he was more than eager to go out because he could do many things that he wouldn't be able to do otherwise with Balramji's presence. So, but Mother Yashoda actually instructed the boys. That is why it is said here, Sanatana Goswami writes, why is it said surrounded by his boyfriends? Because Mother Yashoda had ordered all the boys, because today Balramji is not going, I'm still sending Krishna out with you guys. Only if you promise that you will take care of Krishna. Because usually I don't want to send without Balramji. But if you want to make sure that he is coming along with you guys, then you need to make sure that you protect. That's why on that day specifically, all the boys were surrounding him to protect, to make sure Krishna is like safe. So and in this way they went without Balram to Yamuna river. We can see there are two instances at least in the Bhagavatam which is recounted. Of course, every year Balramji must have had his birthday, so on that day he might not have accompanied. But specifically, there are two occasions that we have come across so far, including this one. One is the pastime of Agasur. The other is the pastime of that we are going to see, Kalia. So both are snakes. So the Acharyas explain why Krishna deals with snakes only on the day when Balramji is not there. Because if Balramji was there and he saw the snakes are posing danger to Krishna, he will show his form of Anantadev with unlimited hoods. So seeing a bigger snake, probably Kalia or Agasur would have like got frightened and they would have left. The pastime would not have had happened, or they would not have the same rasa. They might be frightened by Balramji, so then they won't show the same kind of vigor that they will show otherwise to Krishna. So that's one reason that both the pastimes related to snake is happening during the time when Balramji is not present. So in the next verse we see Vishnu Chakra Thakur is writing how Krishna was like walking very relaxed because he understands what is going to come, and he's specifically taking them to a part of Yamuna which usually they don't go to. Because Balramji is there, they won't go to that particular section of Yamuna. But today, because Balramji is not there, Krishna is very tactically taking all the boys and the cows and the calves towards that section of Yamuna river where Kalia is there. Krishna is walking very slow. But the cows and the calves, because of the summer season, because as we said, this is Balramji's appearance time around, so it is summer season. So the cows and the calves were like very thirsty. So they actually rushed forward, seeing there was like nearby Yamuna has come. So as soon as they saw the water, they were so eager to drink because of the scorching sun. They actually rushed forward. And seeing all the cows and the calves rushing forward, the boys also followed. Otherwise, the boys were very much surrounding Krishna, but they had no other choice but to actually follow the cows and the calves naturally, because they are the coward boys. So they actually ran behind the cows. In this way, Krishna was left behind. And as soon as they reached the water, both the cowed boys and the cows, they drank water of the Yamuna river. It had been contaminated with poison. That is why it is said, Vishambas tad upasprishya in the verses 49 to 50. It's not, upasprishya means it's not even drinking, it's simply touching. If you see the translation of the word. So the poisoned water was just touched by the cows or the cowed boys, and that itself, daivo pahata chetasa. So they actually lost their consciousness. And that means they were dead. And we can say, how is it possible that the associates of the Supreme Lord, like the cowed boys or the cows, can actually die because there's the spiritual body. So that's why here the word is used by Shukadeva Goswami, Daiva Upahata Chetasah. Daiva here is translated as by the mystic potency of the personality of Godhead. So by the Leela Shakti of the Supreme Lord, that the boys and the cows were actually losing their consciousness, as becoming dead just because of the mystic potency of the personality of Godhead. The other reason for Daiva is desire of the Supreme Lord. Or here, Daiva also can mean destiny. Whose destiny? It was Kaliya's destiny. It was Kaliya's time that he needs to be chastised by Krishna. So his destiny also acted here. Means it's a combination of things. Acharyas give different word meaning for the word Daiva. So it could be the Lord's desire or the Lord's mystic potency, or it could also be the time that the time for Kaliya has come. That is also can be indicated by this word Daiva. So simply by touching that water, the water was so poisoned by Kaliya. Simply by touching the water, the cowed boys and the cows actually lost their consciousness and they fell down, nipetu. And here it is shalilante, means ante means it could mean that they fell within the water. But the Acharya say it's not within the water, it's the shalilante, means the water ends. Where is the end of the water? It's the bank. So they fell unconscious on the banks of the Yamuna. So in this way, as soon as Krishna saw that, there was no vikshya, means as soon as he saw, there was no time lapse. He did not give much time. As soon as he saw that his friends and the cows have fallen unconscious, because Krishna is Yogeshwara, Ishwara. He is the he is the master of the masters of yoga. So there are many people who have accomplished personalities in the process of yoga, Yogeshwaras, but he is the Ishwara of all of them. He is the master of all the masters of yoga. So that Krishna, just by Ikshayam Ritavarshinya, just by his merciful glance, it's so beautifully spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. He's saying the glance of Krishna is explained here, Ikshaya. But what kind of glance it is? It is Amrita Varshinya. It's like a rain shower. But what kind of a rain shower? It's the rain shower of Amrita, means nectar. His glance was the nectar, because nectar is actually which gives life. Mrita is in Sanskrit means death. Amrita means that which does not have death or which counters death. So his glance was like a shower of nectar. So with that glance of a shower, like that is like a shower of nectar, Krishna actually samajivayat. He actually brings them back to life. So as soon as the boys and the cows come back to life, they could realize. They immediately stood up out of the water and began to look at one another in great astonishment. Here it is said they stood up out of the water. Jala antikat means from out of, that means some of them had actually fallen into the water also. So they had stood up out of the water, Jala antikat. Or it could also mean they had actually fallen next to the water on the banks and they stood up. Either way it could mean. So here different acharyas translated differently. However, Krishna basically made them fully conscious and they stood up and began to look at one another in great astonishment. The Acharyas say why there is astonishment, because each one was thinking, it felt like I forgot everything. I remember coming towards the bank. I remember drinking the water, but I don't remember anything else that happened. It feels like they got up from a deep sleep, and it's the daytime. So why am I feeling like this experience of waking up from a deep sleep? And each one is looking at the other, thinking, are you also experiencing the same thing? So it's kind of like an unspoken communication. Sometimes when a group of people go through a same experience, friends can look at each other and can kind of uh, reassure each other, I'm going through this, do you think you're also experiencing the same thing? So so that kind of an experience they are having. They're in great astonishment, looking at each other, looking at Krishna, thinking, what just happened? Like, it's in between the day, I just felt like I'm just feeling like I'm getting up from a very deep sleep, not able to remember what happened. So that's why they were in great astonishment. And the coward boys then considered that although they had drunk poison, then they figured out, okay, we had drunk poison and lost consciousness. Simply by the glance of Krishna, we have regained our lives. So here the word Govinda is used because Govinda is one who protects the senses and the cows. So here he protected the life of both the cows and the coward boys. That's why Krishna is here addressed as Govinda. Anugraha Ikshitam. By his merciful glance, he has actually brought them back to life. And now Shukadeva Goswami is going to speak about the pastime. How elaborately he is going to speak about the pastime? He is just going to explain the whole pastime in one verse. Vilokya dushitam krishnam krishna krishna hina vibhu tasya vishuddhim anvichan sarpam tad udavasayat. He is saying, it's very beautiful here how Yamuna, Krishna, and Sarpan, they are all called by one single name in this verse. This is text 1 of the chapter 16. If you see, Yamuna is called as Krishna. Why she is Krishna? Because usually Yamuna's waters are dark, but here specifically the waters of the Yamuna is very dark because of the poison of Kaliya. That's why she is here called as Krishna, the black waters, Yamuna. By Krishna, one who is the all attractive, who has a dark complexion. So that Krishna. So Yamuna and Krishna here means Krishna himself, and Krishna Ahina represents the serpent Kaliya, who's black in color also. So Vilokya Dushitam Krishna, looking at the contaminated waters of river Yamuna, which is contaminated by the serpent Kaliya, Lord Krishna actually, he purifies the river, and then he sends the serpent away from the Kaliya lake. So that's all is the whole pastime summarized by Shukadeva Goswami. He said, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, seeing that the Yamuna river had been contaminated by the black snake Kaliya, desired to purify the river, and thus the Lord banished him from it. And he kind of gives the whole summary, and Parikshit Maharaj is like, come on, like, no, Shukadeva Goswami, I'm very eager to hear. Please explain in detail how this happened. So he says, please explain how Supreme Personality chastised the serpent Kaliya within the unfathomable waters of the Yamuna. How it was that Kaliya had been living there for so many ages. So he wants to know details of the pastimes of Krishna. So he said, please explain me, how did Krishna exactly chastise? You're just saying Krishna actually banished the Kaliya, chastised, but how did he chastise? And also, how is it that Kaliya was living there for so many ages? How was it possible that Kaliya was living there in the Yamuna for such a long time? What was the reason for Kaliya inhabiting Yamuna river? So there is the backstory. I'm sure the future speakers also will speak about it. So in the next verse, O Brahmana, the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Parikshit Maharaj is trying to inspire Shukadeva Goswami. He's saying, the Lord, Shukadeva Goswami can say, oh, actually, it's very kind of a difficult pastime to explain for Shukadeva Goswami. That is why he is not explaining in detail, because he feels it's going to be such a hard, like it's going to be so hard for him to say that how Krishna is going to come in the coils of the snake, and how is going to be. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu. We can
Yeah,
hear you.
Prabhu, we can hear you.
Okay, something is wrong. I don't know what it is. Okay. So here, Shukadeva Goswami is finding it difficult to explain because it is Krishna is going to be in the coils of the snake Kaliya, and it's kind of difficult for him. That's why he is kind of briefly explaining it. But Parikshit Maharaj is asking him to explain. So Shukadeva Goswami might say, "Oh, the unlimited Lord is free to act so many, to do so many activities." But Parikshit Maharaj is saying, "No, yeah, I understand. According to his own desire, he acts in various ways. But who could be satiated when hearing the nectar of the pastimes of Krishna? I am at least not satiated. I am eager to hear. Please don't curtail your uh, the details of the pastime. Please explain in detail." That's why he is saying Gopala Udara Charitam. Because why he is Gopala? Because he is going to protect both the cows. He is also going to protect the cowherd boys, and he is also going to chastise Kaliya. So he is Udara Charitam. Why he is Udara here? Because there are many demons that came in Vrindavan, but Kaliya has a speciality. Kaliya also has in common a lot of things in common with Bali Maharaj. And Kaliya is also very special among the various demons in Vrindavan, because why it is Udara? Because in this particular pastime, Krishna actually does not kill Kaliya. Rather, he actually chastises him. He asks him to leave and gives him a particular place to stay, and also leaves his lotus footprints. So if you compare it with Bali Maharaj, it is a very similar situation also. Both Kaliya and Bali Maharaj have a demoniac background. Their families, the Kaliya is coming from a snake background, and Bali Maharaj is coming from a demon family. And they both were actually very proud, because we can see how when Vamanadev came as a small dwarf Brahmana, Bali Maharaj was like, "Don't be foolish, please ask for more. What is your 3 foot will mean? Like, what will you measure? How much will you measure with your 3 feet? Because it's already very small." So he also was proud that I can give you, please ask. Yeah, and Kaliya was so proud that who will dare come into this? And when he even saw Krishna, he thought immediately, I can just swallow this, I can kill this boy. So it's not a big deal. So that pride was there. And then Krishna chastises both of them, and especially places his lotus feet on the top of their heads. So that fortune is achieved both by Bali Maharaj and by Kaliya. And after that, they both were actually banished, or they both actually were sent to another place. Bali Maharaj was sent to the Sutala planet, and Kaliya was sent to another island where he could live. So in this way, they both have in common. And the Udara Charitam, because he was not killed. Why he was not killed? Usually, most of the demons or all of the other demons were killed. But Kaliya was spared because his wives actually prayed for him. That is the only reason that actually Krishna spared him. And it is said whenever Garuda is unavailable, Kaliya is used as a Vahan. Kaliya is used as a carrier for Krishna, especially when he has to go through waterways. So then he uses Kaliya as a carrier. So that fortune also Kaliya has. So in this way, Kaliya's pastime is considered magnanimous because he does not get killed. He gets basically spared only because of the prayers of the Supreme Lord, prayers of the wives of Kaliya. And then this verse today, in which we have the purport. So it is this particular lake of Kaliya is within Yamuna. So we can understand, okay, if it is within Yamuna, how is that Yamuna's water is being utilized for Krishna's pastimes? Because Yamuna is very fortunate to be observing various pastimes of Krishna. Yamuna Devi is fortunate to observe the childhood pastimes of Krishna. Yamuna Devi is very fortunate to observe the Vatsalya pastimes of Krishna. And also Yamuna Devi is fortunate to witness the Kaishor Leela, the conjugal pastimes of Krishna. What to speak of witnessing? Krishna actually sometimes enjoys pastimes within the Yamuna's waters. So both with his covered boyfriends, with the cows, and also with the covered girls, gopis. So in this way, Mother Yamuna Devi was very, very fortunate to witness various pastimes of Krishna throughout his stay in Vrindavan. And here it is said, this particular lake of the poisonous lake of Kalia was within the Yamuna river. So that's why the Acharya is saying how this lake is formed on the southern side of the banks of Yamuna, which is like a secluded water body, which is receiving water from Yamuna. It's not water from this particular body of lake is not flowing back to the river. So in that way, the river was not contaminated, but this is like a secluded lake, which has its source from the waters of Yamuna. So that is why usually Krishna and the others actually were kept from going to this place. However, Krishna on this particular day made sure he actually goes and removes Kalia from this place and then purifies the water so that it can become a place of pastimes for all of his boyfriends and the cows. So it is said the poison was so fiery that the waters were boiling, that the waters were becoming heated up because of the poison, and the vapors thus created were so poisonous, and that birds flying over the contaminated lake would fall down into it. That's why the cowed boys and the cows, as soon as they touched the water, they actually fell unconscious. And we can also see Kalia is compared because snakes are usually considered envious. So here Kalia also represents envy. I hope the future speakers will throw more light on that aspect of Kalia's pastime. And it's almost 7:50 already. So if others would like to share something from these verses, please feel free to do so.
Gaura, Sharan Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Beautiful class. A question from Andrea. Was Kaliya spared as well, since he wasn't a true demon? He's not referred to as Kaliya Sura. That's a question from Andrea. Was he a demon?
In one sense, a demon is someone, like the scriptures explain, who is a sura, who is an asura. Vishnu Bhakti means one who's a devotee of Vishnu or Krishna is considered as a sura. One who's a non-devotee is considered as a asura. It's like a kind of a umbrella definition. We don't want to go around in the street and call others like that. But in general, the idea is whoever is against Krishna's devotee, is actually a demoniac tendency. So in that sense of an term, Kaliya can be considered as a demon. But yeah, he's coming from a snake background.
Special demon. Okay. Ananda Manjari. I'd like to know more about the form of Balaram as a snake. And what does it represent? How does he show this form?
Lord Balaramji is the first expansion of Krishna. However, Balaramji has, and all other expansions come from Balaramji, like the Sankarshan, the Chaturvyuha, and like that. So in that way, there is from the Chaturvyuha, there is also Anantasesh, who's an expansion of. He's called as Sesha because he is like considered an expansion of Balaramji. So he forms the what do you call the bed of the Vishnus. When we see the Vishnus reclining on a snake bed, so that snake is non-different from Anantadev, who is an expansion of Balaramji. It is said all the universes are all situated on the hoods of Anantadev. So the whole, even when we uh, dug earth for the sake of building the foundation for a temple or any building, usually they keep a snake inside. Because the whole building foundation is going to be held by Anantasesh, like how the Earth planet is being held by Anantadev. Similarly, a silver snake with its hoods raised, so that snake is kept inside, which is not different from Anantadev. They worship and they keep, and that is what is called as Bhumi Pujan. When we break the ground for any particular project, and the devotees do that. So it is considered all the earthly planetary systems are also actually all the universal planetary systems are also actually placed on the hoods of Anantadev, and it is from his mouth when the fires come out at the end of the universal existence. From his mouth, the fire comes out, and from there, the destruction of the from the Rudras appear from that anger, and then the destruction of the universe also begins. And he is also called as Sesha, and he forms the paraphernalia of Lord Vishnu, or how Balramji is considered as the expansion, that he gives all the paraphernalia. Mm. Paraphernalia means like Krishna's bed, his all other ornaments, and or all these things are all considered as expansions of Balramji. Similarly, Lord Ananta is also considered as the one who expands into all the various paraphernalias for Lord Vishnu. And it is said in the Bhagavatam in Canto 6, Chitraketu Maharaj actually goes and takes darshan of Anantadev. He gets the darshan, and then there is a whole sampradaya of Bhagavatam which comes from Anantadev, speaks to the four Kumaras and like that. So that also you can find in the Canto 6.
Thank you. I see Gail has her hand up.
Hare Krishna, Mother Gail.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, a couple of things. One is I missed that part of your explanation when you were comparing Bali. I think you were comparing Bali and Kalia, and you brought in the part about the lake and Garuda. Something in there.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, Bali Maharaj and Kalia could be like compared in the sense that they both have Kalia has a snake background, Bali Maharaj has a demonic background. They kind of have like that kind of a background, and then they both get chastised. But they both also have pride in the beginning, and they both get chastised. Specifically, they both receive the lotus footprint of Krishna on their heads, and they both get banished from their place. That Bali Maharaj is sent to Sutala planet, and Kalia is sent to another island, and he's like banished from Yamuna. So in this way, they have these and they both are not killed, because Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, they were killed, but Bali Maharaj was not killed rather he was glorified as a great devotee. Similarly, Kali also becomes glorified as a devotee to that extent that whenever Garuda is not available or whenever Krishna or Vishnu has to take waterways or something, it is said Kaliya does the role of a carrier in the place of Garuda. So that's how he got elevated to be an associate of the Supreme Lord. Like how Bali Maharaj becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord similarly.
So before this pastime happened, he used to be Krishna's carrier?
No, after this pastime happens, Kaliya becomes purified of his envy. Once he is purified and he becomes humbled, then he becomes a carrier of Krishna in the future.
Oh, okay. Whenever he had to take waterways.
Yeah.
And Garuda is not available.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I missed. Yeah, and just just a couple other things is, well, I know you're probably going to say that it was just Leela, but I find it interesting that, on the platform of Rasa, why would Krishna take his dearmost friends to a place that he knew was so dangerous that Balaram would not want him to go there?
Actually, the acharyas actually speak about that. Let me pull it out. He actually takes them. I was reading somewhere, but basically it is to actually out of affection, in the sense like he can actually exhibit his concern for them when they are in danger. You can say like, okay, why to put them in danger? But he understands in his presence there is no danger. There is like you need a proper reason to chastise Kaliya. Say, for example, if somebody very dear to you is hurt by someone, then that becomes a strong reason to punish the person who caused the difficulty. So in order to move Kaliya, Krishna uses that, basically this particular situation where he's going to cause harm to his very dear friends and the cows. So that becomes
An excuse,
that becomes a proper excuse to actually remove Kaliya from that place.
Okay, yeah, because I was also, I guess this answers my other question too, that, Ravana couldn't, there was no possibility of Ravana, coming in contact with Sita Devi. That's why he was only able to come in contact with her shadow form or something. So I was wondering if Ravana couldn't come in contact with Sita, how was it possible that, the Kaliya's poison could in any way touch his friends? To me, it was like parallel situation.
Or they're calling you back to the altar.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to be back.
Okay.
Krishna's calling you.
Yeah. Okay, Mother Gail. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Shil Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, any further reflections? Adipusha, would you like to reflect? You saved Gaura Sharan from this question.
There's there's a few references to poison. Prabhupada makes a reference to poison. In milk touched by the lips of a serpent becomes poisonous, has a toxic effect. And he uses that to compare to the holy name, even the holy name, which is Krishna. If it is given to us by someone who's not situated in Vaishnava behavior, is toxic. We're not supposed to hear from someone who's not situated in Vaishnava behavior. So that's an interesting thing. And also another reference to poison that Prabhupada uses is this Mayavad philosophy, that hearing that can poison our consciousness and contaminate bhakti lata. So to be careful about poison. But Krishna's stronger. Krishna's so wonderful. He's stronger than anything toxic. He's the vaccine, or, and people think that's a bad word, but there is actually something that can counteract poison, and that's Krishna. How wonderful is Krishna? Incredible pastime, where as a tiny boy, he takes on this huge serpent. He jumps in.
I like that Gaura Sharan who said, if Krishna is taking you places, then there's no question of danger. If you're with Krishna, then we can relax and enjoy. I interrupted you. You were saying something about Krishna jumping.
Well, just like in the previous thing, the story about Danikasura, Krishna, let's go there. Let's get that demon. He's really swaggering and fired up to take on and defeat the offender. And in this pastime, if you read in Krishna book, he climbs up in the Kadamba tree, he tightens his belt, and he jumps in the water. And his one name for Krishna is Jalakalahali, which means one who makes a big splash. Jalakalahali. Sometimes we call Bhakti William Jalakalahali, one who makes a big splash when he jumps in the water. That Krishna has this effect of provoking the demon by splashing into the river. And so Krishna, goes the concho.
Nayana Manjari Ki Jai.
Oh my goodness. Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna, that was the class. We hoped you liked it. If you'd like to reflect, now is the time. William Prabhu, also known as Jalakalahali William. Good seeing you. Bruce Prabhu, how was your skiing with Krishna? Don't worry, you're not going to break your neck. You're skiing with Krishna.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Where are you? Come out of the closet. Oh.
My son is
Okay.
sleeping. Sorry.
Okay.
I was trying not to wake him.
Okay. No problem. No problem. What's his name? What's your son's name?
Zidane.
Zidane. Cool.
Zidane. Yeah,
Great.
like the football player.
Zidane. Yeah, nice. Cool. Is he living up to his name?
Absolutely.
Good. Nice. Okay. Bhim Das, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Yogeshwari, Suzanne, Preeti Chaturvedi, Sharita, Rich, and his herd, Pinky Yogi, Gail, Dana Krishna Radharani, Sharmila. Thank you so much for being here. Come again tomorrow. It's winter, January, everybody's getting sick, but we're getting sick with Krishna. So there's no question of danger. Getting sick
Hare
with
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Gail.
I just kind of feel the need to say one little comment.
Please.
Yeah, that as Adi Prabhu was saying, if we hear the holy name from a person with the wrong consciousness, it's like poison. It's like hearing poison. But the holy name itself never becomes contaminated. It is only the the effect on us is contamination, but the holy name itself is never contaminated. It's always pure. So I just felt like I needed to say that in defense of the holy name.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Gail. I once heard this explanation that if there is urine in the water, it's not that water becomes urine. It's water and urine, two separate substances. Water does not get contaminated by urine. And the sun, when sun comes up, urine gets evaporated, and the place becomes pure.
Yeah, and the sun doesn't get contaminated by evaporating that wee water. The sun always remains pure, So anyway,
that's right.
Just wanted to make that clarification.
Krishna is always pure. Krishna is always pure. His devotees are always pure. And even if they slip occasionally, they're still pure because they're properly situated on the path. They have sadhana, they have association, they have Prabhupada's books. So there's no question of, judging or, falling down forever. All right. Thank you very much.